Markets have not taken a dive amid coronavirus news, although actually hitting record highs. However, some believe markets are not prepared for potential volatility, pricing in for smooth sailing rest of the year. Joining us now, Oxbow Advisors managing partner Ted Oakley. Ted, good to see you.
Okay, thanks, Dan.
With the coronavirus fears, do you think that that will impact, unless it seems like China gets it under control, will that be something that does hurt the markets in coming weeks?
Well, Dagan, I think the markets have basically had a naive approach to this situation, because if you look at our markets, they haven't been affected much. But if you get into all of the GDP stuff that can probably come out of this, then that probably lies ahead if it continues at this point. Because if you look at everything that comes into manufacturing, supply chains, everything, airlines to tourism and the whole thing, I think it eventually gets into the market.
Ted, good morning. Mitch Rochelle. If you wanted to be defensive, following on the point you just made, recognizing that the bond market seems to have been rallying of late, how do you position a portfolio right now in the perhaps likely event that the global economy begins to slow as a result of the coronavirus?
Well, I think, Mitch, you have to do like we currently have, which is a portfolio that has quite a bit of income in it. You know, we're a little late in the game in utilities and REITs, but we own them, and we own quite a bit of the long Treasury right now. If you come in with new money, it'd be a little bit different than it is now. But I think you have, if you think that's happening, I think you have to have liquidity in some form or another. And I think people have fairly low liquidity today in general. I think they do. But if you think that's happening, and the only way to get defensive, there's not many sectors you can own that will hold you up if you get a general market break.
Ted, what about supply chains? They're raising warnings over sales and revenue, but some expect this will have a relatively small impact on the U.S. markets. I'm talking about the virus.
It depends, Dagan. I mean, it's interesting. I've talked to some manufacturers that have small things that you wouldn't think about, that they've gotten information that, hey, it's going to be slower for you to receive things. Things like magnets and little pieces that go in machines that maybe that one part came from China. Certainly it would impact textiles and things where in furniture, that sort of thing, where there's always been a lot of things. But I think what happens is it's that supply chain where their stuff goes to another country and then it goes. And I think that's what people probably have a hard time figuring out right now. But it will have an impact for sure.
So the coronavirus is one thing that I think people are worried about. Another thing that people are looking at is the election coming up. What do you think is priced in as far as what's going to happen with a Democrat nominee, and then ultimately what's going to happen in November?
Well, I'm not. That one would be harder for me. I do better in economics than I do politics. I will tell you. But from what I see, and I see a bifurcation really of two kinds of people on the street when I talk to them. And one is certain that you're going to have a change and, you know, have a new party come in. The other one is certain that the present party is going to stay in and everything's going to be fine. So I would have to say that at this point for me, it's hard to say what could come out of that.
Ted, good to see you this morning. Thank you for being here. Ted Oakley.